The man who trusted numbers above all else learned the hard way that a financial portfolio can be perfectly balanced even when a life is built on a lie. For 5 years, I was the devoted husband, the methodical provider, and the oblivious fool. Tonight, a pulsing dot on my phone's GPS is leading me not to my wife's girls' night, but to the lavish rooftop bar of the Grand Meridian Hotel, where the perfect facade of my life is about to shatter. My name is Ethan Hayes. I'm 33 years old, and I'm about to tell you how my perfect life revealed itself to be a perfectly constructed lie. I'm a senior accountant, the kind who works from home, managing corporate tax portfolios for mid-sized businesses while wearing pajama bottoms and a dress shirt for video calls. I color-code my expense reports. I never miss a deadline. I pride myself on being methodical, disciplined, the guy clients trust with their financial secrets because I understand that numbers don't lie. People do. 5 years ago, I married Rachel. God, I can still remember the first time I saw her at our mutual friend's wedding. 25 years old, electric in a way that made everyone else in the room fade to gray. She was holding court by the bar, telling some story that had 3 guys hanging on every word, her laugh cutting through the reception hall's music like champagne bubbles rising to the surface. When she caught me staring, she winked. Just like that. No hesitation, no games, just pure, unfiltered confidence. "You look like you need rescuing from a boring conversation," she said, sliding up next to me during the cocktail hour. "I wasn't having any conversation," I admitted. "Even worse," she laughed, handing me a drink I hadn't asked for. "I'm Rachel. You're going to dance with me later." And I did. All night. We were good for 2 years. Really good. She worked full-time at a digital marketing agency downtown, and we'd created this perfect rhythm in my modest starter home, the one I'd bought 3 years before meeting her, back when I thought success meant having a mortgage. She'd blast music while cooking weekend dinners, dancing around my kitchen with a wooden spoon as a microphone. We'd binge-watch crime documentaries, her head on my chest, solving murders before the second commercial break. We talked about kids, about upgrading to a bigger house, about growing old together. Then, in our 3rd year of marriage, everything shifted. "I can't do it anymore, Ethan," she sobbed one Thursday night, mascara streaking down her face. "My boss is toxic. The stress is killing me. I throw up every morning before work." I held her while she cried, feeling her whole body shake against mine. "Then quit," I suggested. "We'll figure it out." "But the mortgage, the bills," she protested weakly. "I make enough. More than enough. You focus on us, on building a real home. Take some time to figure out what you really want," I assured her. The relief in her eyes was immediate. "You mean it? You'd do that for me?" she asked. "Rachel, I'd do anything for you," I replied. I meant it, every word. That was 2 years ago. Now, in our 5th year of marriage, I work 50 to 60 hours a week from my home office while Rachel exists in an entirely different orbit. She wakes up at 10, sometimes 11, spends 2 hours at the gym, and Christ, she's gotten fit. Her body is tighter, more toned than when we met. I used to feel pride when other men noticed. Used to. Her days are filled with lunches that last 3 hours, shopping trips that max out credit cards I pay off monthly, and an endless rotation of girls' nights with Maya, Simone, and Jess, her friends, who all somehow managed to not work while living in designer clothes. I never questioned where their money came from. Never questioned much of anything. I pay for everything. The mortgage on this house she barely cleans, the utilities for lights she leaves on, the groceries she doesn't cook, her BMW lease, her credit card statements. I don't examine too closely. She was supposed to take care of the home while I provided. But increasingly, I find myself doing dishes after midnight, starting laundry at dawn before client calls. The house smells like her perfume and neglect. The intimacy stopped being about us months ago. Once every few weeks, if I'm lucky. And even then, she feels distant, mechanical. Like she's performing a duty rather than making love. She keeps her eyes closed, never says my name anymore. "Let's go away next weekend," I suggested last Tuesday. That bed and breakfast in Napa you bookmarked? Can't. Maya needs me for her thing, she replied dismissively. What thing? I pressed. Just a thing. Don't be controlling, Ethan, she shot back. Controlling. The word she'd started using whenever I asked questions. When did you get home? Controlling. Who were you texting? Controlling. Why is there a receipt for a hotel bar in your purse? Controlling. So I stopped asking. But the feeling in my gut, that cold twist that wakes me at 3 a.m., that never stopped. She's always on her phone now, angling the screen away when I walk past. She showers immediately when she comes home, even from lunch. She bought lingerie I've never seen her wear. Her phone buzzes at midnight, and she claims it's Jess having another crisis. I tell myself I'm overthinking. Marriage requires trust. Rachel chose me, married me. She's just finding herself with all this free time. The yoga classes, the new wardrobe, the mysterious appointments she's vague about. It's all self-improvement, right? Right? Thursday night, she kissed me goodbye at the door. Quick, perfunctory, her lips barely grazing mine. Girls' night at Maya's, she announced, already halfway out. Don't wait up. Text me when you get there, I called after her. Drive safe. Always do, babe, she replied carelessly. Babe. When did I become babe instead of Ethan? When did our goodbye kisses become obligations instead of promises? I settled into my home office to finish a quarterly report, the house eerily quiet, without even the pretense of her presence. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a location notification. We'd shared our locations years ago. A safety thing, she'd said, in case something ever happened. Something was happening. The little dot that was supposed to be my wife wasn't at Maya's suburban house in Pleasanton. It was downtown, pulsing steadily at the Grand Meridian Hotel. I stared at that dot for 5 minutes, watching it stay perfectly still. My hands started shaking. Why would she lie? What possible reason could she have for being at a hotel? The quarterly report sat unfinished on my screen, numbers blurring as my vision tunneled to that single damning dot on the map. I tried to rationalize it the entire drive downtown. Maya's birthday was next week. Maybe they'd decided to celebrate at the hotel's famous rooftop bar instead. Maybe Rachel forgot to mention the change of plans. Maybe her phone's GPS was glitching. Maybe. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. 20 minutes through Thursday night traffic, every red light an eternity, every rational thought fighting against the sick certainty spreading through my chest. The Grand Meridian's glass tower reflected the city lights like accusations I wasn't ready to face. I parked 3 blocks away, didn't want her to spot my car if she happened to leave. The walk felt both endless and too quick, my footsteps echoing against concrete, matching my hammering heartbeat. The hotel lobby was all marble and modern art, the kind of place that charges $30 for a martini and makes you feel underdressed in anything less than Armani. The elevator to the 24th floor took 43 seconds. I counted every one. The doors opened to Eden, or hell, depending on your perspective. The rooftop bar throbbed with bass-heavy music and amber lighting that made everyone look like they were filmed through honey-young professionals clustered around high-top tables, gesturing with cocktails that cost more than most people's hourly wage. The windows offered a panoramic view of the city, lights twinkling like fallen stars. I scanned the room methodically, the accountant in me cataloging faces, positions, exits, booth by booth, table by table, until... There, corner booth, pressed against floor-to-ceiling windows. Rachel was straddling someone's lap, her dress hiked up to mid-thigh, her body moving in a rhythm I recognized but hadn't felt directed at me in months. The man beneath her, tall, athletic, with that carefully styled hair that screamed money, had his hands on her waist, her neck, pulling her deeper into a kiss that looked like they were trying to devour each other. My vision went red, then white, then crystal clear. I pulled out my phone, some primitive instinct overriding the shock. The record button felt like a trigger under my thumb. I captured everything. 30 seconds of her fingers in his hair, 15 seconds of his hand sliding higher up her thigh, 10 seconds of her throwing her head back in laughter at something he whispered. The kind of laugh she used to give me, back when I was enough. 1 minute? 2. They were so lost in each other they wouldn't have noticed if the building caught fire. I walked forward, each step deliberate, controlled. 3 feet away, close enough to smell her perfume, the one I bought her for Christmas, mixed with his cologne. "Hey, babe," I said, my voice cutting through their bubble. 2 words! That's all it took to shatter their world like I'd thrown a brick through the window. Rachel's head snapped up so fast, she might have given herself whiplash. The color drained from her face like someone pulled a plug, leaving her looking ghostly under the bar's amber lights. She scrambled off his lap, knocking over a martini glass in her panic. It shattered on the floor, gin pooling across the table like spilled secrets. "Ethan? What? Why are you here?" she stammered, her voice high with panic. The man looked irritated, confused, like I was interrupting something important. "Who the hell is this?" he demanded. I kept my voice deadly calm. "I'm her husband." You could have heard a pin drop in the sudden bubble of silence around us, even with the music still pounding. The man's jaw literally dropped, a cliché I'd never seen in real life until that moment. He looked at Rachel, then back at me, his face cycling through confusion, understanding, and panic. "You're married?" he shouted at her. "You told me you were divorced." I held up my phone, turned the screen toward them. The video played on repeat, their passionate embrace in perfect HD clarity. "Got everything on camera, Derek," I announced. I'd seen the name on her phone earlier that week, a text preview that popped up during dinner. "Can't wait to see you Thursday, Derek." She'd grabbed her phone so fast she knocked over her wine. Derek Lawson, I could tell from his reaction he was someone who mattered, someone with a reputation to protect, stood up, hands raised like I was pointing a gun at him instead of a phone. "Look, man, I had no idea," he started explaining frantically. "She said she was single. I swear I wouldn't—" I didn't let him finish. My fist connected with his jaw with 5 years of suppressed suspicions behind it. He stumbled backward, crashed into the booth, his expensive suit suddenly not providing much protection. I hit him again. Ribs, stomach, the soft spots that would hurt for weeks. He tried to block, but I was running on pure adrenaline and betrayal, a combination that made me feel invincible. He collapsed to the floor, curled up, groaning. Designer shoes scuffed, silk tie askew. Mr. Perfect reduced to a whimpering mess on sticky bar carpet. The entire rooftop had stopped to watch. Phones out, recording, some people actually cheering. I'd become their Thursday night entertainment, the cuckold husband getting his revenge in real time. Someone would definitely post this online within the hour. Rachel was screaming, "Stop! Please stop! Ethan, you're going to kill him!" she wailed. I turned to her, my knuckles bleeding, breathing hard. She was crying, black mascara creating rivers down her cheeks, reaching for me with hands that had just been all over another man. "Don't," I commanded, the single word sharp enough to cut. She froze. "Don't come home. Pack your stuff and leave." I walked out through the crowd that parted like the Red Sea, past the stunned bartenders, past the security guard who was just now realizing something had happened, into the elevator, down to the lobby, out into the cool night air that felt like the first clean breath I'd taken in months. In my car, hands still shaking, I forwarded the video to David Brennan, a divorce attorney I'd once worked with on a client's estate planning ruthless, thorough, and expensive. Worth every penny. Subject line, emergency, need you tomorrow morning. I didn't go home. Couldn't face our bed, our kitchen, our life that was now just evidence of my stupidity. I checked into a Marriott across town, lay on sterile white sheets, and stared at the ceiling while my phone exploded with calls and texts from Rachel. 17 missed calls, 6 voicemails I deleted without listening. Text after text. Please let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. Ethan, please. I'm sorry. Please come home. At 2 a.m., David Brennan replied, "Saw the video. Don't delete anything. Don't talk to her. Come to my office at 8 a.m. We're going scorched earth." Scorched earth. I like the sound of that. Friday morning, 8 a.m. David Brennan's office occupied the entire top floor of a building that screamed success. Glass walls, chrome fixtures, a view that made you understand why his retainer started at $10,000. He was studying the video on his laptop when his assistant showed me in, replaying it with the clinical detachment of a surgeon examining a tumor. "This is a gift," he said without preamble. "Adultery, caught on video, in public. Multiple witnesses. You own the house outright, purchased before marriage. She has no job, no income, documented infidelity. We file for fault-based divorce. She gets nothing." "Nothing?" I repeated, the word tasting like vindication. "No alimony, no property settlement, nothing," he confirmed. "She quit her job 2 years ago, voluntary unemployment, no grounds for support. House is premarital property. She never contributed to mortgage or improvements. Clean break." I leaned forward. "I want her out. Today." David smiled, the kind of smile sharks probably have before feeding. He made a call, spoke in rapid legal terms, then hung up. "Process server will have papers to her within 2 hours. After that, she's trespassing on your property," he informed me. I texted Rachel from a burner phone David provided. My real phone was evidence now. "You can stay until the papers arrive. After that, you're trespassing." Cold, surgical. Everything our marriage hadn't been. By noon, she was served. By 12:15, my phone had 43 missed calls. She showed up at my hotel. I don't know how she found me. But I'd already switched rooms, called security when she wouldn't leave the lobby. Her texts devolved from begging to anger to desperation. "How can you do this? 5 years means nothing? I made one mistake. You're destroying my life." I screenshotted everything, forwarded it to David. Evidence of her admission, her instability, her guilt. But the legal decimation was just the beginning. The video from the bar had already started circulating. Someone posted it on Instagram. Faces blurred, but anyone who knew us could tell. "Husband catches cheating wife at Grand Meridian," already had 50,000 views by Friday afternoon. I made strategic calls. First, Robert and Linda, Rachel's parents. Conservative first-generation immigrants who'd treated me like the son they never had. Robert answered on the second ring. "Ethan, how's my favorite son-in-law?" he greeted warmly. "Robert, I need to tell you something." "About Rachel," I said carefully. Silence. Then, "What has she done?" he asked, his voice already heavy with dread. He knew. Somehow, he already knew. "Parents always do," I explained calmly, offered to send the video as proof. He stopped me. "No, I believe you. I'm sorry, Ethan. We raised her better than this," he said quietly. Within hours, Rachel's parents disowned her. Her mother, who'd babied her, defended her, enabled her, left a single voicemail that Rachel played on speaker when she was begging me to answer. "You've brought shame to this family. Don't contact us again." Next, the friend group. Maya was horrified when I told her Rachel had used her as an alibi. "She was supposed to be at my house?" Maya exclaimed. "Ethan, I haven't seen her in 2 weeks." The group chat exploded. Simone and Jess had suspected something. Rachel had been distant, secretive, always on her phone during their lunches. When they saw the video, they cut her off completely. Blocked her number, removed her from group chats, unfriended her on everything. Derek Lawson fared no better. The video reached his workplace. Someone recognized him and forwarded it to HR. Turns out Derek was a pharmaceutical sales director with a history of inappropriate relationships. This public scandal gave them grounds for termination. His $180,000 salary gone. His reputation in the industry destroyed. His LinkedIn updated to seeking opportunities within a week. Rachel was living in an extended stay motel, paying with credit cards I'd canceled. She had no savings. Why would she, when I covered everything? No job references after 2 years of unemployment, no support system. Her carefully curated Instagram life collapsed to nothing. The divorce proceeded with brutal efficiency. Rachel got a public defender who tried arguing for temporary support, but David demolished every argument with evidence and documentation. The judge, a woman who'd clearly seen too many cheating spouse cases, reviewed the video once and ruled in my favor on every point. "Mrs. Hayes," the judge addressed Rachel, looking over her glasses at Rachel, who sat hunched in a borrowed suit. "You voluntarily left employment, contributed nothing to the household financially, committed documented adultery, and now expect support from the man you betrayed?" Petition denied. 60 days after that night at the rooftop bar, David called with the news. "It's done. Final decree signed. She got nothing. No property, no alimony, no shared debt. You're free," he announced. I hung up and stood in my home office. My home, my office. Looking out at the yard I'd need to start maintaining myself. The house felt too quiet, too big, too full of ghosts. But it was mine. Every square foot purchased with my discipline, my work, my trust that had been weaponized against me. That evening, I drove past her motel. Her BMW was gone. Repossessed, probably. The parking lot was full of cars held together with duct tape and hope, people who'd hit bottom and were trying to climb back up or just trying to survive another day. I wondered if she was in there, staring at walls that weren't hers, wearing clothes from discount stores instead of Nordstrom, eating ramen instead of sushi. Then I drove home, parked in my garage, and closed the door on that chapter forever. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, 5 months since that night at the rooftop bar, I'd gutted the house of memories like cleaning out an infection. New furniture, new paint, new art that didn't remind me of weekend antiquing trips where she'd charm sellers into discounts. I started working out again, my body remembering what it felt like to move without the weight of suspicion, reconnected with friends who said they'd noticed something was off but didn't want to interfere. Landed 2 high-profile clients who appreciated my attention to detail, my reliability, my inability to lie even about numbers. I was building something new from the ashes she'd created. Then, on a gray Saturday afternoon in November, my doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there she was, a ghost of the woman I'd married. She'd lost weight, the kind that comes from stress, not gym sessions. Her hair hung limp, unstyled. She wore Walmart clothes that didn't fit right, the kind you buy when you need something clean more than something flattering. Her eyes were hollowed out, red-rimmed, ancient. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice flat, emotionless. I'd practiced this moment 100 times in my head. In some versions, I slammed the door. In others, I laughed. In reality, I felt nothing. "Can I come in?" she pleaded. "Please, just for a minute. I need to talk to you." I could have refused, should have. But some perverse curiosity made me step aside. I let her into the foyer, no further. She didn't deserve to see what I'd built without her. She looked around at the changes visible from the entrance, her face crumpling. "You've changed everything," she observed, her voice breaking. "Fresh start," I replied simply. "Ethan, She took a shaky breath. "I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I need you to know I'm sorry for what I did, for how I treated you, for everything." "For cheating on me?" I cut in, my voice turning sharp, surgical. "For lying about where you were going? For letting me pay for your entire life while you met another man?" She flinched like I'd slapped her. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not the pretty tears she used to deploy during arguments, but ugly, desperate ones. "I know," she sobbed. "I was selfish. I was stupid. I took you for granted. I thought I could have everything. The security you gave me and the excitement with Derek, I convinced myself I deserved it. That you wouldn't find out. That somehow it would all work out. That you could get away with it. I finished for her. Yes, she admitted, her voice breaking completely. And I'm paying for it. I've lost everything, Ethan. My parents won't speak to me. They told the rest of the family I'm dead to them. My friends want nothing to do with me. I'm working retail at a discount store for $14 an hour. I live in a studio apartment that smells like the last 10 tenants cooking. I can barely afford groceries. Derek blamed me for ruining his career, said I should have told him I was married. I studied her. This stranger wearing my ex-wife's face. Waited for something. Sympathy, satisfaction, anger. Nothing came. I'm not here to ask you to take me back, she continued quickly. I know that's impossible. I just needed you to know that I understand now what I had, what I threw away. You were good to me, Ethan. Better than I deserved. And I destroyed it because I was bored and entitled and thought the grass was greener. Why are you really here, Rachel? I pressed. She hesitated, then pulled out a folded paper. Rental application denial. Bad credit, no references, no cosigner. I'm being evicted, she confessed. I can't make rent anymore. No one will approve me for anything. I tried getting a loan, but I have nothing. No assets, no cosigner. I'm going to be homeless in 2 weeks. There it was. The real reason. She'd come for salvation, assuming that somewhere under my anger was the man who'd always saved her. That man was dead. She'd killed him in a rooftop bar. So you came here to ask for money, I stated. No, I mean, she faltered, the lie dying on her lips. I thought maybe you could co-sign an apartment application or let me stay in the guest room for a month until I get on my feet or... Get out, I interrupted. Ethan, please, she begged. You made your choices, I said firmly. You chose to cheat. You chose to lie. You chose to throw away a marriage where you had everything because you wanted the thrill of sneaking around, and now you're facing the consequences. I'm not your safety net anymore. I have nowhere to go, she wailed. That's not my problem, I replied coldly. I opened the door wider, November air rushing in cold and unforgiving. You have 2 minutes to leave before I call the police for trespassing, I warned. She stared at me, searching for any crack in my resolve, any hint of the man who used to love her. She found stone. Finally, she turned and walked out, shoulders shaking with sobs that might have moved me once. I closed the door, locked it, leaned against it for a moment. My hands were steady. My heart rate was normal. I didn't feel triumphant or cruel. I felt free. I walked to my home office, opened my laptop, and got back to work. Rachel's problems weren't mine anymore. They never would be again. 1 year after that final confrontation, 16 months since the night at the rooftop bar, I sit on my deck, the October morning crisp and clean. The backyard I've transformed into my personal sanctuary spreads before me. New landscaping, a fire pit where friends gather on weekends, an outdoor kitchen where I've learned to cook for myself and others. My coffee tastes like victory and peace. The promotion to partner came with a 6-figure raise and profit sharing that would have made Rachel salivate. I mentor junior accountants now, teaching them about numbers but also about value, knowing their worth, protecting their assets, recognizing when someone's books don't balance in more ways than one. I volunteer at a financial literacy nonprofit, teaching people to spot financial abuse in relationships, to maintain independence, to never become someone's meal ticket or mistake their wallet for love. Elena and I have been dating for 4 months. She's an architect, 34, with her own firm and her own scars from a broken engagement. We take things slow, neither of us eager to repeat past mistakes. She pays for her own dinners half the time, has her own place, her own life that intersects with mine but doesn't depend on it. When she stays over, she cooks breakfast. When I stay at hers, I fix things that break. Balance, partnership, words that mean something. The updates about Rachel come sporadically, through mutual acquaintances who think I want to know. She's still living with a distant cousin in another state, still working retail. Her Instagram, what's left of it, shows forced smiles and motivational quotes about new beginnings that get 3 likes. Her parents maintain their silence. Derek Lawson disappeared entirely, probably reinventing himself in another city where the video hasn't circulated. I don't feel vindicated when I hear these things. I don't feel anything. She's become what she always was. Someone else's problem, her own problem, a cautionary tale I occasionally share when someone needs to hear it. The house is mine. Every mortgage payment, every improvement, every memory I choose to keep or discard. The life is mine, built on my terms, with my effort, surrounded by people who match my energy instead of draining it. My phone buzzes. Elena, texting about dinner plans. I smile. A real smile, not the performance I'd perfected during my marriage. Tonight we're trying that new Italian place downtown. She'll drive herself. Meet me there. We'll split the check or she'll insist on paying because I got it last time. We'll go home to our separate places unless one of us suggests otherwise. No obligations. No lies. No pretense. Just 2 people choosing each other, one honest day at a time. I close my laptop, head inside to shower before my morning run. In the mirror, I see a man I recognize again. Older, some new lines around my eyes, but clear, present. Whole. The man Rachel broke is gone. The man who emerged is better, and he's never looking back. I never thought I'd be telling this story. Not because I'm ashamed of what I did, God knows I'm not, but because for 12 years I believed in something that never existed. My name is Robert Hayes, and I'm 52 years old, regional operations manager at a logistics company. The kind of job title that makes people's eyes glaze over at parties. The kind of man who fixes problems before anyone notices they exist. Invisible, reliable, forgettable. My first marriage taught me about betrayal. Caught my ex-wife in our bed with her personal trainer. How's that for a cliché? The divorce left me gutted, financially and emotionally. 7 years of solitude followed. 7 years of frozen dinners and empty weekends, convincing myself I preferred it that way. Then Linda happened. We met at a company barbecue 12 years ago. She wore a yellow sundress that caught the light when she laughed. Her daughter Sophie stood beside her, 12 years old, all knees and elbows and nervous energy. Linda's story came out over warm beer and potato salad. Single mother, ex-husband. Greg was an abusive drunk who'd vanished when Sophie was barely walking. "We're better off without him," she told me, her hand finding mine across the picnic table. "Some men just aren't meant to be fathers." I believed her. Every word. Sophie called me Dad without anyone asking her to. Just started one morning over breakfast, 6 months after Linda and I got married. "Dad, can you drive me to soccer practice?" she asked casually. The word hit me like lightning. I'd never had children of my own. Suddenly I had a daughter. I became everything Greg never was. Private school tuition, $28,000 a year. Orthodontics, $6,000. College at State University, $32,000 annually. Her first car, a sensible Honda Civic. The security deposit on her downtown apartment when she graduated. Every boyfriend who broke her heart. Every promotion at her marketing job. Every milestone. I was there. Linda stopped working after we married. "Someone needs to manage the home," she'd say, though Sophie was already a teenager who barely needed supervision. I never questioned it. This was my family, my redemption. Sophie got engaged last spring to James. Good kid, steady job as an accountant, the kind of eyes that actually look at you when he shakes your hand. When he asked for my blessing, I gave it without hesitation. When Sophie called to tell me he'd proposed, she was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Thanks, Dad," she managed between sobs. "For everything. For being everything." Those words. God. Those words meant everything. The wedding planning started immediately. Sophie had Pinterest boards dating back to high school, garden ceremony, evening reception, string lights and white roses, the Whitmore estate, an hour outside the city. "It's perfect, Dad," she said, scrolling through photos on her phone. "But it's so expensive." "Nothing's too much for you, sweetheart," I replied. I meant it. Signed every contract, wrote every check. $15,000 for the venue, $8,000 for catering, $3,000 for flowers, the photographer, the band, the cake that cost more than my first car. For 3 months, I worked overtime, 60, 70-hour weeks, sleeping in my truck between shifts sometimes. Living on gas station coffee and vending machine dinners, Linda would text me photos from dress fittings, cake tastings, floral arrangements. "You're amazing, Robert," she'd write. "Sophie's so lucky to have you." I was exhausted. I was broke. I was happy. Tuesday evening came like any other, 3 days before the wedding. I was reviewing the final vendor payments when Linda and Sophie walked into the living room. They were holding hands, which should have been my first warning. Their faces wore that careful expression people get when they've rehearsed bad news in the mirror. "Dad," Sophie started, "we need to talk about the wedding." The words hung in the air like a blade about to fall. I set down my paperwork, tried to read their faces. Linda wouldn't meet my eyes. "I've been thinking a lot about Saturday," Sophie continued, her voice gaining momentum like she needed to get it all out before she lost her nerve, "about who I want to walk me down the aisle." I smiled, confused. "Cold feet? James is a good—" "No, Dad, it's not about James," she interrupted. She squeezed Linda's hand tighter. My chest went cold. I didn't know it then, sitting in that living room I'd paid for, looking at the two people I'd built my entire world around. But the next 60 seconds would erase 12 years. Everything I thought I knew, everything I thought I was to them, was about to crumble into dust. And honestly, looking back now from where I sit, free and clear and 3,000 miles away, they did me a favor. "I want my biological father to walk me down the aisle." The words didn't register at first. They bounced off my brain like rain on glass, refusing to penetrate. I stared at Sophie's face, waiting for the punchline to a joke that wasn't coming. "What?" I asked. Sophie shifted on the couch, her engagement ring catching the lamplight. The ring I'd helped James pick out, the one I'd loaned him half the money for because he was just starting his career. "Dad, She stopped, started again. "Greg reached out to me a few months ago, through Facebook." Greg. The name was poison in my mouth. The drunk, the abuser, the ghost who'd abandoned them both. "He's changed, Dad," she continued. "He's been sober for 2 years. He goes to meetings, has a sponsor, the whole thing. He's in therapy. He has a job now, an apartment. He wants to make amends." I looked at Linda, my wife, the woman I'd loved and trusted and provided for. She was studying her hands like they held the secrets of the universe. "You knew about this?" I asked her directly. She nodded, finally meeting my eyes. "He contacted me first, wanted permission to reach out to Sophie. I thought it would be good for her for closure." "Closure," I repeated, the word flat and mechanical. "And this closure includes him walking her down the aisle." "At the wedding I'm paying for." Sophie leaned forward, her eyes wide and pleading. "You've been my dad in every way that matters. You know that. You raised me, you loved me, you gave me everything. But Greg is my biological father. He made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but he's trying to make things right. I want to give him this chance." "This chance," I echoed. "After 12 years. After he left you both with nothing. After I—" "This isn't about money, Dad," Sophie cut in, her voice taking on an edge of irritation, like I was being unreasonable. "This is about healing, about forgiveness." "Forgiveness," I said. "And where do I stand? During this healing ceremony I'm financing?" Linda reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "You'll still be there," she said softly. "In the front row, as my husband, as Sophie's, as the man who raised her, as the man who raised her," I repeated. Not her father. The man who raised her. Like I was hired help whose contract was expiring. Sophie was crying now, those manipulative tears that had worked on me for 12 years. Please, Dad. Please understand. This doesn't change anything between us. But it did. It changed everything. I saw it all so clearly in that moment. The truth of what I'd been to them. Not a father, not a husband, a wallet, a provider, a placeholder. Someone to pay the bills and fix the problems and work himself into the ground while they waited for the real father to get his act together. 12 years of private school while Greg was getting drunk. 12 years of birthday parties while Greg was in rehab. 12 years of love and sacrifice while Greg was finding himself. And now, with 3 days before the wedding I'd killed myself to pay for, they wanted me to step aside, to sit in the congregation and watch another man, the man who'd abandoned them, take the honor I'd earned. Something inside me broke, not dramatically, not violently. It simply stopped, like a watch that suddenly quits ticking. The love, the obligation, the need to provide and protect, gone, just like that. But my face stayed calm. 20 years in logistics teaches you to never show your hand when negotiations go south. If that's what you want, I said evenly. Sophie's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? You're okay with it? Sure, I lied, smooth as silk. Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart. She flew across the room, threw her arms around me. Oh, Dad, thank you. Thank you for understanding. I knew you would. You always understand. Linda kissed my cheek, relief flooding her features. You're such a good man, Robert. So generous. Greg will be so grateful. Greg will be grateful. For the wedding I paid for, the daughter I raised, the life I built while he was destroying his. They left 20 minutes later, chattering about dress alterations, about where Greg would stand during photos, about how emotional it would be when he saw Sophie in her wedding gown. They didn't notice I wasn't listening. They didn't notice my silence wasn't acceptance, it was calculation. I sat alone in the house for exactly 10 minutes after their car pulled away, staring at the wall, at the family photos I'd paid to have professionally taken, framed, hung with care, Sophie's graduation. Our family vacation to Disney World. Linda and Sophie laughing at my surprise 50th birthday party. All lies. Every smile, every "I love you, Dad," every Father's Day card, all of it performed for the man funding their lives while they waited for the real thing to return. I stood up, grabbed my keys, told myself I was going for a drive to clear my head. That's what a good, understanding man would do. Take a drive. Cool off. Come back ready to smile and support and pay for everything like always. Linda didn't question it when I left. Why would she? Robert always comes back. Robert always understands. Robert always bends. Not this time. I drove straight to my attorney's office. Margaret Sinclair had handled my contracts for 15 years. Sharp as a surgical knife, discreet as a priest, I walked in without an appointment at 8:47 p.m. I need your help, I said, and I need it done tonight. She looked at me, really looked at me, and must have seen something in my face that told her this wasn't a negotiation. Sit down, she replied, pulling out a legal pad. Tell me everything. By the time I was done talking, she was already making calls. By the time I left her office at 2 a.m., the architecture of my revenge was already under construction. They thought I went for a drive to clear my head. I did. But I wasn't clearing it of anger. I was clearing it of them. Margaret's office became my command center. While she worked the legal angles, I handled the practical destruction. The coffee was cold, the fluorescent lights harsh, but I'd never felt more awake in my life. Start with the wedding, Margaret advised, sliding her laptop toward me. You're the only name on every contract? Every single one, I confirmed. Then legally you can cancel everything. They can sue for damages after, but by then? She smiled, sharp and knowing. By then, it won't matter. I pulled out my phone. It was nearly midnight, but most vendors had emergency lines. The venue first, the Whitmore estate, where Sophie had dreamed of getting married since she was 16. "Whitmore Estate, this is Bradley," came the professional voice. "Bradley, this is Robert Hayes. I have the Hayes-Morrison wedding booked for Saturday." "Yes, Mr. Hayes. Everything's set for your daughter's big day," he responded cheerfully. "Cancel it," I interrupted. Silence. Then, "I'm sorry? Cancel the entire booking. The wedding is off," I stated firmly. "Sir, you'll forfeit the entire deposit. That's $15,000, and we can't refund any," he warned. "I understand. Cancel it," I repeated. "Mr. Hayes, may I ask?" he began. "No. Cancel it. Send confirmation to my email. Thank you." I hung up. The caterer was next. 8 in the evening in California meant it was past closing, but I had the owner's cell from when we'd negotiated the menu. "Tony, it's Robert Hayes," I said when he answered. "Robert, calling about the appetizers? We can still adjust," Tony offered eagerly. "Cancel the entire order," I cut him off. "What? The wedding's in 3 days," he exclaimed. "There is no wedding. Cancel everything," I instructed. "Robert, you're looking at a complete loss here. 8 grand, gone," Tony warned. "Fine," I replied. "You can't be serious," he protested. "Send me written confirmation that it's canceled, tonight." I ended the call. The photographer, the florist, the band, the cake that cost $3,000 and had taken 4 consultations to design, the vintage Rolls-Royce that was supposed to drive Sophie and Greg, away from the reception. Every single thing I'd paid for, I systematically destroyed with a phone call. Some vendors argued, some pleaded. The cake decorator actually cried. Apparently, she'd been working on it for a week. I felt nothing. Each cancellation was another bar removed from my cage. By 1 a.m., the wedding was gone. Erased. Like it had never existed. "Phase 2, Margaret announced, pulling up banking sites. "Finances." This was trickier, but not impossible. The joint accounts were in both our names, but I was the primary. I could withdraw everything without Linda's signature. The credit cards were all under my account. Linda and Sophie were just authorized users. I moved methodically through each account, checking $47,000 transferred to my personal account. Savings, $73,000 moved. The emergency fund, $30,000 investment account, $120,000. Every penny I'd earned and saved over 12 years pulled back to safety in 17 transactions. Then the credit cards. Linda's Visa, canceled. Her MasterCard, canceled. The American Express she used for shopping, canceled. Sophie's card for emergencies that somehow got used at Starbucks daily, canceled. "Now the house," Margaret said. This was the masterstroke. The house was mine. Purchased before I married Linda, never added her to the deed despite her hints over the years. "We're married," she'd say. "What's yours is mine." But I'd always found excuses to delay the paperwork. Some instinct, maybe. Some small voice that warned me to keep one thing that was truly mine. "I want it on the market tomorrow," I told Margaret. "Price it to sell fast." "Robert, that's your home," she started. "It's a house. One I no longer want to live in," I corrected. She studied me for a long moment. "You're really doing this. They made their choice. I'm making mine," I answered. By 3 a.m., I was back at the house, packing. I moved like a ghost through rooms where Linda and Sophie slept, unaware that their lives were already destroyed. I took only what mattered. Clothes, documents, the watch my father left me, photos of my parents. Everything else was contaminated by the lie I'd been living. I loaded my truck in the dark. 3 trips, quiet as a thief, though I was stealing nothing that wasn't already mine. The last load included my golf clubs. The ones Sophie had bought me for Father's Day 3 years ago. I almost left them, then decided I'd earned them. Paid for them myself, really, since my money had funded her gift-giving. I stood in the driveway at 4 a.m., looking at the house one last time. the kitchen window where Sophie used to wait for me to come home from work, the porch where Linda and I had slow danced on our anniversary, the garage where I'd taught Sophie to drive. All of it poison now, all of it lies. I got in my truck and drove west. No destination in mind, just away. The sun rose behind me as I crossed the state line, and I didn't stop except for gas and coffee. My phone started ringing around noon. Linda, probably wondering why her card was declined at lunch. I didn't answer. By evening, I was 500 miles away when my phone exploded with calls and texts. I finally answered on Linda's 20th attempt. "Robert, my card isn't working and the bank says—" she started frantically. "I closed the accounts," I interrupted. Silence. Then, quietly, "What?" "I withdrew everything from our joint accounts. Canceled your cards. Sophie's too," I explained calmly. "Robert, what are you talking about? Are you having some kind of breakdown? Where are you?" she demanded. "I also canceled the wedding," I added. "You... what?" she gasped. "Every vendor, every reservation, gone. If Greg wants to walk Sophie down the aisle, he can pay for the aisle," I stated. Her voice went shrill. "The wedding is in 3 days." "Then Greg better get busy," I replied. "Robert, you can't do this. What about Sophie? This will destroy her," she screamed. "She made her choice. She chose the man who abandoned her over the one who raised her. Actions have consequences," I explained. "This is insane! You're destroying everything over your wounded pride?" she accused. "No! I'm done paying for a family that was never mine," I corrected. "I'm calling a lawyer," she threatened. "Good. Call one. Margaret Sinclair is mine. She's very good. Oh, and Linda, the house goes on the market tomorrow. It's in my name only, remember? You might want to start packing," I informed her. "You can't," she started. "I can. I am. Don't call me again." I hung up and blocked her number. Sophie called 30 seconds later from her phone. I almost didn't answer, then decided she deserved to hear it from me. "Dad, what are you doing? Mom's crying. She says you canceled everything," she began, hysteria in her voice. "I did," I confirmed. "Why? Because of Greg?" "Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you," she pleaded. "Yes, you did. You knew exactly what you were doing," I countered. "That's not true. I love you, Dad. You're my father," she insisted. "No, I'm the man who raised you. Your words. Greg is your father. Let him act like it," I reminded her. "Please, Dad, come back. You can walk me down the aisle. Both of you can. Please," she begged. I laughed, bitter, harsh. "Both of us, like some participation trophy. No thanks. I'll tell Greg no. It'll just be you. Please, Daddy." She tried desperately. "Too late, Sophie. You showed me what I really am to you. The wallet, the provider, the placeholder. Well, this placeholder is done," I declared. "That's not true. You're everything to me," she sobbed. "If that were true, this conversation wouldn't be happening," I pointed out. "Please. The wedding. All my friends are coming. This will humiliate me," she whispered. "Then ask Greg to fix it. He's your real father, remember?" I said coldly. "Dad," she started again. "Don't call me that anymore. And don't call me again." I hung up and blocked her number too. The phone rang constantly after that. Unknown numbers, Linda's friends, Sophie's friends, probably Greg himself. I turned it off and drove through the night windows down, cold air slashing at my face, the radio playing songs I'd never heard before. For the first time in 12 years, I felt nothing for them. No anger, no sadness, no guilt. Just free. By dawn, I was in Arizona. The desert stretched endless and empty, and I felt like I could breathe for the first time since Sophie had said those words. My phone stayed off for 3 days. When I finally turned it on, there were 247 missed calls, 189 texts, and 73 voicemails. I deleted them all without reading or listening to a single one. They called 47 times that first week, using different numbers, trying to trick me into answering. I never did. By week 2, the calls slowed. By month 3, they stopped completely. By then, I'd stopped counting, stopped caring, stopped looking back. 6 months later, and I'm sitting on a canyon rim in Sedona, watching the sun paint the rocks red and gold. My phone buzzes, a text from Margaret. House sold, $620,000. After fees, $580,000 deposited to your account. Hope you're well. I am well. Better than I've been in years. The house sold in 2 weeks, price to move, just like I wanted. Combined with my savings and retirement accounts, I'm sitting on roughly $700,000, more than enough for a man who's learned to live simply, who's learned what actually matters. I've been traveling. Montana for a month, where the sky is bigger than God. Colorado, where I hiked trails I'd only seen in magazines when I was too busy working to take vacations. New Mexico, with its alien landscapes and green chili everything. Now Arizona, where the desert teaches you that life finds a way even in the harshest conditions. Small towns, mostly. Places where nobody knows who I am or what I left behind. Motels with clean sheets and functioning coffee makers are all I need. Diners where the waitresses call you honey and the pie is made fresh daily. I've lost 15 pounds and gained something harder to measure. Peace, maybe, or just the absence of constant obligation. My old neighbor Tom sends updates occasionally. I never asked him to, but he does anyway. Heard the wedding got canceled last minute. Total chaos. People showed up to an empty venue. A month later. Greg disappeared again when he found out there was no money. Lasted about 2 weeks. Then, Linda's working at Target now. Sophie's waitressing at that place on 5th Street. I don't respond to Tom's messages, but I don't block him either. There's something satisfying about knowing they're struggling, that they're finally experiencing what life is like without someone else paying for everything. Another text from Tom, 3 months after I left. Sophie came by looking for you, cried on my porch, kept saying she was sorry. Sorry. Such a small word for such a big betrayal. I delete the message and order another beer. The bartender here knows my name, Robert, but nothing else. Doesn't know I once had a daughter who wasn't really mine, a wife who saw me as a means to an end, a life that looked perfect from the outside and was rotten at its core. You hiking Cathedral Rock tomorrow? The bartender asks me. Thinking about it, I reply. Beautiful trail, tough climb, but worth it for the view, he comments. Worth it. I think about that phrase a lot now. What's worth it and what isn't? 12 years of sacrifice for people who traded me in the moment a better option appeared? Not worth it. This sunrise, this beer, this freedom? Worth everything. My phone rings. Unknown number with my old area code. I let it go to voicemail, then delete it without listening. Could be Linda or Sophie using a friend's phone, could be Greg, looking for money. Could be anyone from that old life. Doesn't matter. That life is dead. I've been dating someone. Nothing serious. Michelle, a massage therapist from Durango who's passing through. We've had dinner twice, coffee 3 times. She asked why I'm traveling alone. Needed a fresh start, I told her. Bad divorce? She asked. Something like that, I answered. She didn't push. That's the beauty of starting over. You only owe people the truth you choose to give them. You have kids? She asked on our 3rd coffee date. No, I said, and meant it. Another text from Tom. Sophie got engaged again. Different guy. Courthouse wedding this time. Courthouse wedding. No big estate, no $3,000 cake, no vintage Rolls Royce, no father to pay for it all. I wonder if she asked Greg to walk her down the aisle at the courthouse. I wonder if he even showed up. I don't wonder for long. The sun drops behind the canyon walls, and the temperature drops with it. Desert nights are cold, another thing I've learned in my new life. I zip up my jacket, finish my beer, leave a good tip. Back at my motel, I open my laptop and check my accounts. The money's all there, growing slowly in conservative investments. Enough to last me 20 years if I'm careful, 30 if I'm smart. I'm both now. I think about Linda sometimes, working retail at 48, scanning groceries, dealing with angry customers, standing on her feet for 8 hours, all the things she thought she was too good for when my money was flowing. I think about Sophie, carrying plates to tables of people who won't remember her face 5 minutes after they leave the college degree I paid for, apparently not worth much without someone funding her lifestyle. Do I feel guilty? No. Do I miss them? I miss who I thought they were, but those people never existed. My phone buzzes. Email from Margaret. Hope you're enjoying your travels. Thought you should know. Linda tried to contest the house sale. Judge threw it out. She also tried to claim alimony. Denied. Abandonment clause in your prenup held up. Prenup. Thank God for Margaret's insistence 12 years ago. Linda had pouted about it. Don't you trust me? But I'd held firm. The one smart thing I did in that whole relationship. I close the laptop, turn off the lights, listen to the coyotes calling in the distance. Tomorrow I'll hike Cathedral Rock. Next week, maybe the Grand Canyon next month, Utah or Nevada or California. The point is, I get to choose. Every day, every decision, every dollar spent. My choice. I think about what Sophie said in one of her voicemails I deleted. You're going to die alone, maybe. But I'd rather die alone and free than live surrounded by people who see me as nothing more than a bank account with a heartbeat. I close my eyes and sleep comes easy. No stress, no worry about bills or tuition or wedding costs. Just sleep, deep and dreamless and earned. 1 year now. I'm in Taos, New Mexico, in a coffee shop that makes the best green chili breakfast burrito I've ever had. The same booth every morning, the same waitress who knows I take my coffee black. No sugar, no small talk before the caffeine hits. My phone, a new one, new number, no connections to the past, buzzes with a text from Tom, still sending updates I didn't ask for. Linda moved in with her sister, still working retail. Sophie married that guy, living in a studio apartment. Thought you should know. I don't respond, but I don't block him either. The house sold for $620,000. After Margaret's fees and closing costs, I netted $580,000. Combined with my savings and retirement accounts, I'm sitting on well over $700,000. I'm financially secure for the foreseeable future, especially living simply in small towns where cost of living is low. I think about the wedding that never happened. About Sophie in her dress walking down an aisle that no longer existed, looking for a father, either one, who wasn't there. I wonder if she understands now what she threw away. Probably not. People rarely do. I think about Linda, working retail at 48, no longer able to coast on my income. About the joint accounts she took for granted, the credit cards that stopped working, the house she assumed was hers. She made her choice too, siding with Sophie, orchestrating the healing that required Robert's erasure. Robert doesn't feel guilty. He feels light, unburdened. The anger is gone now, replaced by something calmer. Acceptance, clarity. I've hiked the Rockies, watched storms roll across the desert, sat in diners listening to strangers' stories. I've dated a woman in Durango, nothing serious, just coffee and conversation and honesty. She asked once why I moved west. Needed a fresh start, I said. She didn't push. That's the thing about starting over. You only owe people the truth you want to give. His phone buzzes. Tom again. Sophie got engaged. Different guy. Courthouse wedding. Thought you'd want to know. I don't respond, but I think, good for her. Hope this one doesn't need a father figure who pays for everything. I finish my coffee, tip well, walk out into the New Mexico sun. The mountains rise blue and distant. The air smells like juniper and freedom. I'm 53 years old. I've got years ahead of me, and they're mine now. Not Linda's, not Sophie's, mine. If you're reading this and you see yourself in my story, if you're the one who provides, who sacrifices, who bends until you break, hear me, walk away. The world's a big place. It's waiting for you. Don't let people use you. Don't let them take your love for granted. And when they show you who they really are, when they look you in the eye and tell you you're replaceable, believe them. Then leave. I don't regret the 12 years. I regret staying 12 minutes after Sophie asked for Greg. But I learned. I chose myself. And I've never looked back. To freedom. To second chances. To the life you build when you finally put yourself first. I close my laptop, pack my bag, and head for the road. Next stop, Santa Fe. After that, who knows? The point is, it's my choice now. And that's all that matters.